Okay, so we saw in our previous example mini project how to do a sort of fluid simulation. In this one, we're going to have a look at doing some more soft body sort of stuff. And there's a lot of different types of soft bodies that we can do with Lagoa, including things that look like jello, kind of bouncy, rubbery objects and stuff like that. I'm going to open up an example scene here. We're going to do kind of a little mini project here. The example scene that we're going to open up is one called Example 2 Paste. So I'm going to open this up, and I've already got a scene sort of set up for us. There's no particle effects or anything at the moment, but if I look at this, basically I have sort of this tube of paste, and it's sort of a table surface or whatnot. And if I hit play, I have an actual animation. The object kind of moves around and starts to apply imaginary paste on this table surface. Okay, and I've already got a null for the emitter that we can use already hooked up right here. It's at the so let me go back to this view. So let's go ahead and see about getting this thing done. So with this null selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to create, and I'm going to go to Lagoa particles. Now what I want to create is some kind of a paste. Okay, and there's a couple of ways I can do this. I can either go to volume emission and do it all manually the way that I've been doing it, or I can use one of these sort of preset commands over here. For example, I could use the sticky paste right here, which is already conveniently here for me. Now, if I go that route, let me click on that. I already had the null selected, so all I have to do now is click on the table surface here. It's going to set up a compound for me. And that does simplify things a bit, but it may or may not be what you want to do. So let me go to Ice Tree view over here. So here's my compound, and the compound's got just a few parameters here that deal with a paste sort of material. So it's pretty simple. Based on what we have here, let's just go ahead and hit play and see what we've got. So you're going to see all these sort of particles here being dropped on this table surface as this tube of paste kind of moves around the scene and follows an animation that I did earlier. So essentially what you can do is you can actually draw and write stuff with your with paste. So let me stop and come back over here. Alright, so I'm not too happy about that. The sticky paste is great as a starting point or whatnot, but I want to have some real control over this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that point cloud. I'm going to delete it from my scene. I don't want it. Let me select the null. I'm going to go back to create Lagoa particles, and I'm going to select volume emission. Then I'll select the table surface. I basically want to create my own custom effect from scratch. That's just my personal workflow. I like to have a lot of manual control over everything to achieve the effect that I want. But compounds and presets are great when you're starting out and you're just learning. So you can check them out, try to reverse engineer them, and understand how that stuff works. So for the resolution per unit, let me go with something like 0.4. I'm also going to go with a hex placement. I'm also going to emit at every frame. All this stuff looks pretty decent. I'm probably going to mess around with the initial force parameters in a bit. Let me go to the add forces node. I'm going to turn off air density, but I am going to go back to my forces and add one of these air density nodes over here. It's just my workflow. I like doing that. So that's plugged in there. For the main material, I'm going to get rid of the original main material. I'm going to go to the material types, and there is a paste material over here preset that I can use. So let me drag that in here and plug it into the execute one node of the Lagoa phase. If I open this PPG up, you see I have settings for elasticity. I've also got plastic flow and pressure settings as well. Okay, so since I'm using those things, let me go to the multi-physics node, and what I want to do is I want to turn off stuff that I'm not using. Okay, so I'm not using, for example, the inelastic settings, so I'll turn that off. I'm not using the viscosity, so I'll turn that off. But all this other stuff I am going to use, so I'll leave that on. Substeps, I'll leave at 3. That's fine for now. Let me hit play, see what we've got. So there's a sort of sticky paste getting dropped into our scene right there. Something else that I want to do here probably is, in terms of particles, maybe 0.4 is a bit much. Let me increase that to 0.5 so we get less particles. That looks pretty good. That works pretty well for what we need. Another thing that I probably want to do here is, let me see. Actually, everything's pretty good. I want to animate the emit grid node. So I'm going to animate this real quickly here. I want to animate the enable parameter, which is a pretty cool way of achieving some effects. So for example, on the first frame, I'm going to click over here and set a keyframe. So it's going to go ahead and calculate the emission right here. It's going to draw something out for us right here. I'm going to go ahead and set a keyframe and disable the emission right there. So if we play this back, it's basically going to emit particles here, and when it gets to this point, it's going to stop emitting because it's disabled. Okay? So let me actually maximize this viewport over here so we can get a better look at this. So maybe at this point, and one thing that I find that really helps is we can take this object here to animated object, go to our viewport options, turn on animation ghosting so that we can actually see the ghosting of the object. If for whatever reason you don't see animation ghosting, go to the display settings of this object, or actually not the display settings, go to the visibility settings and turn on the animation ghosting right here, because if it's off you won't see it, if it's on you will. Okay, and this just basically show us some frames in the future and in the past of the animation, which is extremely useful for when you're animating anything in any 3D program, not just Softimage. So at this point I'm going to enable the emission. We're going to play this back. It's going to continue emitting particles all the way through to about right. And at this point, I'm going to disable the particle emission. Play again. At this point, I'm going to re-enable it. I'm going to play this again. Have it play all the way through. In case you haven't noticed what it's animating, it's basically just animating and creating the letters or the numbers and letters I3D. Of course, you can go ahead and animate this and make it spell out whatever you want. And at this point right there, it should stop. So I'm going to hit disable and keyframe that. So it's basically going to spell out I3D as it plays through. Okay, let me just play this through just to make sure it's actually doing everything right. And let me turn off animation ghosting. It's kind of getting in the way there, making it hard to see what's going on. Okay, alright, looks pretty good. I'm pretty sure it's going to come out just right. So now with that done, let me go ahead and end this video, and in the next one we're just going to continue on working on this little mini project here.